Time is something we can never take for granted. It is fleeting, and the way we choose to use it defines the path of our lives. The truth is, we all have the time we need. It's a matter of how we decide to spend it. If we're honest with ourselves, the problem isn't a lack of time, but how often we choose comfort over action. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest minds of his time, epitomizes this understanding. Despite being the most powerful man in the world, he didn't take time for granted. His predecessors, like Tiberius, retreated to islands, while Nero pursued distractions like music and poetry. But Marcus? He rose to the challenge each day, driven not by obligation, but by a deep-seated sense of purpose. In his meditations, Marcus writes about the internal struggle that we all face when we wake up in the morning. When you have trouble getting out of bed, he says, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of? This isn't about just getting up to do work. It's about doing what you were born to do, fulfilling your purpose, embracing your nature, and contributing to the world in meaningful ways. As I reflect on these words, I think back to when I first read them. I was 19, and those words hit me like a revelation. We are not created to seek comfort. We are created to work, to grow, and to make a difference. The plants, the ants, the birds, they all work toward their purpose every single day, contributing to the order of the world. Why shouldn't we do the same? This struggle, this inner battle between comfort and purpose, is the essence of motivation. It's about overcoming the temptation of staying cozy in bed and instead rising to fulfill what the world needs from us. It's about being driven not by the easy path, but by the higher calling that our nature demands. The Stoics provide us with a blueprint for motivation. It's not about grand bursts of energy or seeking external rewards. It's about finding the strength to continue moving forward, one small step at a time. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that if it's humanly possible, you can achieve it. Sure, some people may have natural advantages, but ultimately, the most impressive feats are the results of steady, determined work. No transformation happens overnight. It's about putting in the effort, day after day, building momentum. This idea resonates deeply with me. When I first started writing, I had no idea if I could actually complete a book. The idea of filling blank pages seemed daunting. But when I understood that writing was a process, a framework that required patience and consistency, I stopped being overwhelmed by the end result. I realized that by showing up every day and doing the work, the results would follow. And they did. Just like Marcus, I now understand that success isn't guaranteed, but perseverance is. The key is not quitting. No matter how daunting the task, if you stay consistent, you will reach the finish line. Results come not from giving up, but from continuing to put one foot in front of the other, pushing forward even when it feels like you're not making progress. For me, this Stoic mindset has been incredibly helpful. I've learned that motivation doesn't need to be a grand force of will. Sometimes it's as simple as showing up. As the writer and artist Twyla Tharp explains, once she gets to the studio, the rhythm of the work takes care of itself. It's the act of starting that propels you forward. If you're struggling to find motivation, remind yourself that the battle isn't won with a single burst of energy. It's won in the quiet moments of perseverance, in showing up when it feels hard, and in trusting that consistent effort will lead to results. Embrace the process and let time be your ally, not something to be squandered, but something to be seized, one deliberate step at a time. The power of routine, turning action into momentum in life. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new projects and big goals, but eventually, the routine takes over. Anyone who's built a habit or a daily practice knows how this works. Once you have a structure in place, it almost feels like the routine runs itself. This is what Seneca was getting at when he said, "Life without design is erratic." What he meant is that when we establish systems and routines, they guide us, they take the weight off our shoulders and allow us to focus on what really matters, without constantly having to decide to be motivated every day. Think about writing, for example. Inspiration is for amateurs. Professionals just get down to work. This captures a simple truth. Professionals don't wait for the muse to strike. They sit down every day at the same time and work because that's what their routine dictates. Motivation might be helpful, but it's often fleeting. Routine, on the other hand, serves as the solid foundation that carries us forward, even on days when motivation is low. You don't wake up each morning and decide to be productive. You just follow the rhythm of what you know you need to do. This idea aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes that small, repeated actions, done consistently over time, build momentum. It's about setting habits that, once in place, require less effort to maintain. The beauty of routine is that it doesn't depend on an emotional push. It doesn't ask for inspiration, it simply asks for consistency. By repeating the action over and over, you build a kind of power that becomes self-sustaining. On the flip side, when you don't have that structure, resistance creeps in, and it's easier to get lost or distracted. Routine frees you from relying solely on the big bursts of motivation that tend to come and go. When you have a well-defined schedule, you don't need to keep mustering the willpower to do things. You just do them. This is what some of the best minds in history understood. Whether it was a great choreographer or a writer, they all knew that if they just took the first step, the routine would carry them where they needed to go. Motivation versus essentialism. Focus on what truly matters now. Let's talk about motivation. One of the reasons many of us struggle to stay motivated is that we often don't believe what we're doing truly matters. It's easy to get caught up in the busy work of life, things that society tells us are important, but are actually distractions from what we really care about. This is why Marcus Aurelius' question, "Is this essential?" is so powerful. Most of the things we do every day aren't essential. They don't move us closer to the person we want to be or the life we want to lead. They're just noise, busy work that drains our energy without offering any real return. When we ask ourselves, "Is this essential?" we eliminate the unnecessary, which means we can put more of our energy into the things that truly matter. This is key for managing motivation. If motivation is finite, why waste it on tasks that don't align with your true priorities? By narrowing your focus to the things that are most important, you conserve your motivation for what really moves the needle in your life. You stop expending energy on trivialities, and instead, you channel it into your core pursuits. This is where Stoic wisdom truly shines. By learning to focus on the essential and eliminate the distractions, you make better use of the limited resources you have: time, energy, and motivation. It's about choosing what's worth fighting for and letting go of the rest. The struggle of discipline, overcoming resistance, of course. This doesn't mean that discipline is always easy. Nobody likes getting up early. Not even Marcus Aurelius enjoyed leaving the warmth of his blankets. In his meditations, he has an internal dialogue where he's trying to convince himself to get out of bed. He argues that the purpose of life isn't to stay cozy and comfortable, but to fulfill a higher duty. He knew that the morning is often the best time to be productive, so despite the resistance, he pushed through and did it anyway. This ties back to the Stoic idea that the right action isn't always the easiest or the most comfortable. It requires discipline and a willingness to face discomfort. Whether it's getting up early or doing the hard work of self-reflection, the Stoics understood that growth often comes from confronting the resistance that stands between us and our goals. By embracing the discomfort, we can build strength and move closer to our purpose. Embracing the quiet work of progress in a world full of noise and distractions, it's easy to forget the quiet work that goes on behind the scenes. And Frank, in her diary, famously wrote, "Paper is more patient than people." This line highlights the importance of solitude, focus, and patience. Progress isn't always loud or flashy. It's often a quiet, consistent process of showing up, doing the work, and moving forward, even when it feels hard or unglamorous. It's this quiet persistence, this commitment to routine and discipline, that leads to the kind of growth that really matters. It's about taking small, consistent steps every day, even when you don't feel like it, and letting the power of your routine carry you through the ups and downs of motivation. So, instead of waiting for the spark of inspiration or the perfect moment to strike, build your routine, show up every day, and let the work become its own motivation. The Stoics knew that this was the path to true achievement, inner peace, and long-term success. By eliminating the unnecessary, embracing the essential, and sticking to our routines, we can create a life that aligns with our deepest values. We all face moments when our minds are overwhelmed by thoughts that we often project onto others, like our employees, friends, or even the driver who's holding up traffic. Instead of letting these thoughts spill out in frustration, try putting them on the page. Writing them down is a powerful release. The page is forgiving. It's patient. It keeps secrets, doesn't judge, and doesn't care if you contradict yourself or if you sound like you're complaining. It simply holds space for your emotions and thoughts, allowing you to see them from a distance. Part of why we get so stressed or anxious is because we trap ourselves in our heads, swimming in overwhelming thoughts. But when we write things down, we step outside of ourselves and gain a new perspective. We might even realize, I don't even agree with myself here, or I don't want to carry this negativity. And that's the magic of journaling. It creates a gap between you and your internal chaos. You can start to declutter your mind and make conscious decisions about what to keep and what to let go. Think about some of Kennedy's doodles during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Those were his raw notes, capturing his stress and his thoughts while trying to work through one of the most intense moments in history. That's what journaling can do. It helps you brainstorm and untangle the stress of difficult situations. Journaling is not just a release, it's a form of creative expression. A few years ago, I had the privilege of seeing Da Vinci's journals in Milan. His notebooks were full of ideas, sketches, and thoughts that led to his masterpieces. Without his journals, we wouldn't have The Last Supper. Writing down our thoughts and keeping a commonplace book is just as essential for creativity and problem solving. Now, you might be saying, I don't have time to read or write. But you do. You make time for the things that matter. Marcus Aurelius found time to read. Epictetus, a former slave, found time to read. You have the time. It's about how you choose to spend it. I'm busier than most, yet I make reading a priority because I know its power. As Seneca once said, it's not that we don't have time, it's that we waste a lot of it. So if you want to read, write, or develop yourself, do it. Don't waste time. Put down the distractions and make space for growth. Seneca also reminds us to treat our bodies rigorously so they don't become disobedient to our minds. We push ourselves physically because the mind needs a strong vessel to support it in moments of pressure. That's why we exercise, wake up early, and put in the work when others are quitting. By conditioning our bodies, we ensure we have the strength and control when the stakes are high. One of the most profound lessons I've learned came from Seneca when he said, don't think of death as something far off. Think of it as something happening right now. We're all dying with each passing moment. Time is fleeting, and once it's gone, we can never get it back. This is why the Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering death, is so crucial. It's a reminder to live with urgency and to make every moment count. A life-changing book for me has been Mastery by Robert Greene, which explores the lives of those who have dedicated themselves to mastering a craft. The dedication to a single pursuit is inspiring. When we study the lives of great people throughout history, through books like Plutarch's Lives, we see both their virtues and their flaws. It's a powerful reminder of the importance of embodying the values we admire. When I wrote the Daily Stoic 8 years ago, I never imagined it would grow into the massive community it is today. Nearly 750,000 people receive daily emails with Stoic meditations, a free resource designed to help guide people through life's challenges. This community, the largest group of Stoics in history, exists because people are committed to learning, growing, and applying Stoic principles to their lives. You can join us and be part of this incredible journey of wisdom and transformation. Remember, we're not passive observers of life. We have the power to take control of our thoughts, our actions, and our time. It's up to us to make the most of it.